my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Podding in your cast, casting in your pod.
Pod, cast. Can you hear me?
I think we're good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we're on.
Episode 7.
Episode 7.
Episode 7.
Episode 7.
Episode 7.
7.
7. The podcast, the fire, the hole awakens. The fire in the hole, because episode 7, that's what it brought to mind immediately.
Okay.
Yeah?
Sure.
So here we are.
This is the one directed by J.J. Abrams.
Oh, God. How about J. Ambrose? That's close enough.
J.J. Abrams?
You know, I got that as a comment one time. I was like, what are you trying to do, like a J.J. Abrams thing? I'm like, I was literally speechless. I just didn't know what to say at that point. I wanted to muster like a fuck you. But I was just like...
At some point, we're going to need to talk about J.J. Money.
Oh, we will have to talk about it. Yeah.
Is that your rapper name?
It's worse. This is Fire in a Hole, episode 7. I am
Welcome.
Jason.
And I'm Richard.
And with us today is a guest. And I wanted to say a very special guest, but they do, even on talk shows, they make fun of that. You know, like Conan O'Brien, who always has to go, like the talk show thing of the, we got a great show for you guys tonight. We get a great show, like no matter who he has on.
Yeah, he could have the guy from 90210, and it's a great show.
Exactly. He could have someone on from that was in the spotlight 25 years ago for 10 minutes that's doing a really cool skateboarding video now. Or he could have on like John Hamm or one of those guys, or
It's
Elon
still
Musk.
a great show.
What is he going to say? We got an okay show for you tonight.
We could have done better this week.
Like
But,
I'm not gonna lie to you. You should go make some food.
You try to make a show every single day and make it good.
Have like a meltdown.
Yeah. See how you like it.
I hear Letterman's got Jack Black on. Maybe you should go watch that.
Maybe if my writers did a better job and stop fucking around, like, you know, just complete. I would pay to see that. That would be pretty cool. But we do have a very cool guest. Not an old friend of mine, but certainly a fellow I've known for a few years now. And a gentleman I would definitely qualify as a friend. A fellow filmmaker. I would say he's a bit of a guerrilla. He's like a guerrilla warrior.
I'm not a guerrilla filmmaker, though.
No, you're not. But
I'm the opposite of a guerrilla filmmaker.
Well,
I want my trailer.
You want your trailer?
I don't get it, but I want my trailer.
Okay. So then but I got to say guerrilla filmmaker, because otherwise it makes you a failed filmmaker.
Well, I'll take failed over guerrilla, I think.
So a fellow failed or
filmmaker.
Not yet winning. Let's do that.
I haven't won yet.
A soon to be winning, hopefully, filmmaker, Micheal Treder. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thanks for
sir.
having me.
Is
Thanks,
this your first podcast ever?
Yeah, I'm popping my podcast cherry,
Oh, all right.
which is exciting. I've listened before, you know, through the walls of neighbors and stuff, but
okay.
I've never actually participated in a podcast. So
Okay.
this
They
is,
say you never forget your first.
yeah, I won't.
Right.
This is
And it's always
unforgettable.
awful and awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's off. It's awful. It's awkward. It's over too quick.
Yeah.
And at the end, you end up proposing marriage to somebody. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'll love you forever.
yeah,
And ever and ever.
yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. We'll be gentle.
This is going all the wrong places now.
It's going dark.
It's going dark, but it often does. But anyway, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for making it out on what is a beautiful Montreal fall evening of torrential rains and 100-kilometer winds.
Yeah, October Rain. This is what Axl Rose never wrote songs about October Rains.
He only had, he was a little bit November, but October doesn't. Not really.
Yeah. But he wrote like November Rain, like California style, didn't he? Which is like mild. Like
I don't know if he even wrote it, but yes, there's probably not much to.
A Canadian November rain would be like blizzard.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about the weather everywhere they are, right? Although here it's a constant conversation just because it feels like if we imagine that there's someone up there controlling the stuff, like the Maytag repairman.
He hates Canada.
He's like a mean drunk.
Yeah.
And he just gets hosed, and then he just like rips off his clothes, and he just starts pulling levers and buttons and woo, and like just starts fucking with the controls, and then we'll get hail, and then 10 minutes later the sun comes out,
Yeah.
and then hail again,
Yeah.
and then everything freezes. But then it's 14 degrees in the middle of January, and
He's punching holes in walls 1 minute and then apologizing the next.
yeah. So clearly we live in one of the most confusing climates, I think. I mean, we get our Canadian winter. Let's not kid ourselves here.
And our Canadian summer.
And our Canadian summer,
August.
but like a wet one.
Yeah.
We get it. It's humid and unpleasant and smoggy.
Yeah.
And
It's
anyway,
character building.
character building.
Well, is that the silver lining we're looking for? Or I don't know.
I think
Gotta
that's-
tell ourselves something, right?
Canadian winters make me want to be a better man.
What I'm trying to tell you is, ever since I met you, I mean, okay, so you're at the very least, a filmmaker.
Yeah. I can call myself a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm. You've made films.
I have made films.
You've made a lot of other people's films.
I've made more people's films than I have made my own films, but
Okay.
I have been able to officially I can call myself a filmmaker, I guess is what I'm getting.
You can then fully get behind that.
I can. I'm no longer, I own a camera.
Right. Well,
Which
what does
I
that
don't
mean
own.
anyway?
Yeah, I don't own a camera.
Right. So let's start with something a little bit simpler than that. First of all, you're clearly not from Montreal.
I'm not. No, I am.
Even after all these years, I can still tell.
I'm. Yeah.
It's a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, I'm from the prairies, born in Winnipeg, which is a fun.
A legendary filmmaking town.
It's true. It's a legendary filmmaking town. Born in Winnipeg and raised in Calgary and Alberta, Edmonton. Not really raised in Calgary. I lived in Calgary for a while, and then more in Edmonton and rural Alberta. But yeah, and then I moved here a couple years ago.
Okay, that must have been pretty trippy.
It was one of those like my girlfriend, now wife, was going to school here, so we're like, let's move, because it was, we're young and.
Are you married early, right?
We married fairly early enough.
How old were you?
We were married in 2009, so I was 24, 25.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, we had a little conversation about marriage the other day with Eric, and he kind of did it, later in life, and it was a very conscious choice. But did you get married just cause? Was there any pressure?
I wouldn't say pressure. I mean, you always get that family pressure.
Uh-huh.
That pressure that's like, when are you gonna make an honest woman of her?
Okay, so you did
that's
get
what.
that.
No, well, yeah, of course, you get that. And then we married because it was like I didn't want to just. For some people, maybe it's okay, but for me, I knew that it wasn't that I wanted to be. We're just together for 50 years without being married.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know you, for instance, with Lisa, you've been together for eons.
Yes.
And you're quite content with that. Whereas,
Let's say that.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I would rather just get married and then.
It's a Quebec thing.
Yeah, it is a Quebec thing.
The
Nobody
not
gets
getting-
married in Quebec. I noticed that.
Well,
Nobody.
that's what made Eric special,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
why we're all over him about that, because that's what I mean by it must have been trippy for you to come from there and make your life here.
It's whatever X amount of kilometers away, but it's a whole different world here.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Okay, so can you tell us real quick about some of the major differences that you felt when you got here? Like what hit you first?
Well, aside from the language,
Uh-huh,
I mean,
yeah, okay.
people from Quebec or Montreal, they assume that everybody is bilingual.
Right.
Whereas when you're in Alberta, it's not even an option at school most of the time. You're either at a bilingual school or you're at English school.
This is back home?
This is back home.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you maybe get. I was homeschooled, so that's different.
You were homeschooled?
I was homeschooled. You didn't know that?
This explains so
yeah,
much.
I was homeschooled.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
By
my mom.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was a teacher?
Who was not a teacher.
Who was not a teacher.
Well, I mean, by the end of teaching, 4 boys and a girl.
Right, because you have siblings.
I have many siblings. I come from a fair-sized family.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is like a Calgary prairie special. Like it sounds very idyllic.
We lived on an acreage with pigs and goats and
Are you kidding
ducks.
me?
Yeah. And so we're that little house on the prairie that was an hour and a half out of the city.
That's
being
amazing.
homeschooled. Learning chores.
Hand-me-downs.
Hand-me-downs. Oh, yeah.
Anyone play the fiddle in the family?
No. I bought a guitar once, but
Okay.
that was after.
And you are number what? In the...
I'm the middle child now. My sister is significantly younger than me.
Okay.
She was at Mistake, or she's she was.
You heard it here
You
first.
heard it here first.
No, I
my,
get it.
my parents are never going to hear this, and she's not going to hear this either.
That's
so
what
it's
you
fine.
think.
Yeah,
We're going
yeah.
national, baby.
We're getting
Number
big.
one fan of this podcast is my mom and dad.
You laugh now, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Treder.
Hello.
Yeah. So she's. Between,
So how many total? Sorry, how many total?
I have 2 older brothers, a younger brother, and a younger sister.
Okay, and
So that's 5 of us.
how old is your oldest brother?
My oldest brother is 35.
Okay, wow, that's old.
Wow. Yes.
He's
well,
like-
older.
Like old.
Over the hill.
Yeah, he's kind of done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they put him out? Have they walked him over the hill?
He bought his coffin the other day.
Yeah?
No.
They took him behind the barn. and-
So, any other artists in the family, or
No.
Are you the black sheep?
I come from I'm the black sheep. I come from a line of carpenters and mechanics and tradesmen. And I'm the
Wow.
one that was like, I don't like getting my hands dirty.
Huh.
Is there a job that I can get where I don't have to use my hands?
How interesting.
Yeah.
I'd
So
love to see that in
I
this family.
chose to be a writer, filmmaker that is poor for his whole life, but
Uh-huh.
I'm happy. So
Okay. We have some tissue here.
Yeah,
If you need
yeah,
it
I know,
at any
yeah.
point. Okay, cool. So you came to Montreal in how many years ago?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's because we forget how insular Quebec is sometimes, right? We know it's always reiterated how because of the French population and the French culture and everything, that Quebec is always the odd man out or the weird one in the family, to keep it in sort of line.
Quebec
with
is the drunk uncle.
Is the drunk uncle?
It's a drunk uncle.
That takes out his penis at the Christmas party?
That's like, I know we have to be nice to you because you're family, but
The ants keep pushing him.
It's
back in the back.
inappropriate.
Yeah. The ants keep making him like, stop that. What did it? And they
Yeah.
argue in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you forget that there's a whole other country out there that has little or nothing to do, or it's different. I mean,
That
just
is
the
that
size
is
of this country.
very different from
Very different.
very different from.
Okay, so you decided to become a filmmaker out there, or do you just wanted to write?
Yeah, yes and no. As a kid, I wanted to be a filmmaker, but as a kid, you also want to be a zookeeper and a veterinarian
And the president of the parachuting team.
Yeah.
These these made up jobs.
I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I think that was my avenue. So when I moved here and I was unemployed for many, many months, I would just write, and then I got published in a couple of different magazines and stuff, and that was my first kind of like, oh, I could maybe be a writer, you know.
You're writing short stories at this point, or?
Writing short stories. Back out west, I had taken courses in journalism and things like that, and I was always a writer. Written some plays and stuff, and then I hit a point in my kind of short story kind of writing where I was like, I want to maybe try to make a movie. I knew nothing about making movies, but it was something that I wanted to do, and so then I just bought a bunch of books and I taught myself how to make movies, and then I wrote a script and I was like, I'm gonna shoot this, and then I cast actors, and then I was gonna just get a camera and rent a hotel room, and we were gonna shoot it wasn't like that kind of a film in a hotel room, but
No, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You literally just did the DIY.
Yeah,
thing.
and then I decided I had a breakdown a month before shooting that, and I was like, I actually know nothing about filmmaking, and so then I bought more books and I learned even more, and then I surrounded myself with really good people that I met on Craigslist, which is something I don't think I do now. Meet people on Craigslist.
I don't think it's possible anymore.
To meet people on Craigslist.
I think
maybe now you meet people on Tinder. I think you can maybe.
That would be interesting. Hey, we should
make a movie off of like Tinder.
Well, there is an app called Stage 32 or something.
Yeah, that I keep getting invites to.
Yeah, I've checked it out, and they've tried to do a kind of social media app for filmmakers.
So you swipe left or swipe left,
no,
right?
No, it's not that clever. But I'm thinking we should do that.
Isn't Stage 32 like LinkedIn?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Which
but
no one
that's
uses.
what we should do.
But you're looking for like what? Like Best Boys and Key
do.
Grips?
Well, that's Grindr. You look for Best Boys on Grindr.
Key Grips.
Also on Grindr.
Also on Grindr.
All of these things, I don't know what they do at all.
Yeah.
You guys do, but I don't.
The boom operator, also on Grindr.
Right. Well, your essential independent filmmaking, and then, of course, Michael has nothing but war stories. That's why I made the gorilla comparison earlier.
Yeah, in that sense, I'm a gorilla. I've been shot at on film sets.
There you
I haven't been, but I.
But I have the stories that I've heard Michael tell me over beer.
It's like knife fights on set and stuff.
Just like, and then the generator blew, and then we were in the middle of the Arctic. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating here, but
it was Rod in Quebec. It might as well have been the Arctic.
I was in the Arctic, surrounded by people I found on Craigslist. Explosions to the left, explosions to the right.
If you had been podcasting that shit at the time, you would have a crazy popular show.
I've never been on a film set where I didn't have like a good story to tell.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have just like if there isn't at least one book in there, I don't know what you're doing with that information.
Yeah.
But just the stories this guy tells me, and for me it's never ending fun. But also I'm like, geez, dude, what are you getting into? But he's never ever been grumpy or.
I've been grumpy.
Yes, but not to me.
Like, after the fact, on set I'm grumpy.
Like. People listening
after
to
the
this,
fact, I can remain jaded, but I'm relaxed.
Yeah, but people can't see this because this being a podcast. But like even now, as you're talking about these things, you
these
have
aren't cameras.
No, sorry, we're not there yet. You have this perpetual smile on your face, even when you're like. And then the guy, the actor came up to me and he stabbed me.
Yeah,
and
he
then
pulled a knife on me.
He pulled a knife, and then I'm picturing myself telling that story, and I'm shaking the table and banging on it and. There's like drool in my face, and I'm like, I'm red, beet red. He's got this like smile on his face as he's telling me the most horrific, pain in the ass filmmaking adventure that he's ever had. But I can tell you love it, man. You love it.
Yeah, I do. It's a boring day on set is a boring day on set.
Yeah.
When things run smooth, it's what you want for the film, but it's not what you want kind of in your life, maybe. I love the chaos. I'm like that fox from, what is it, Antichrist? Chaos reigns.
Right.
That's me. I love that.
You thrive a bit in that.
I love that if something's not on fire, I'm kind of like, well, that was...
Yeah.
We made the day, okay. That's
well,
fine.
Michael and I met in a very weird way. Like we didn't really know each other. We didn't have friends in common as such.
Yeah, it was essentially Craigslist. It wasn't Craigslist, but it was Facebook.
It was like Facebook?
It was Facebook.
You kept popping. I kept seeing you pop up on film-related stuff, but we sort of had a bit of an interaction, but didn't.
Yeah, I don't remember why.
And then we figured out that we live like 3-4 blocks from each other.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
So I was at the bank, I'm coming in, I'm like, I know that shaggy guy.
Yeah, because that's the weird thing about Facebook is that you meet people and you can be like a Facebook friend of somebody for years and never meet them.
Right.
And then, but you know more about their life than you do your
own friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird.
And I think that's what it was. It was we knew each other through Facebook, and so it wasn't weird when we finally met.
But it wasn't like we didn't like, oh, and now we shall become friends. It was kind of like, hey, dude, and you're like, hey, dude, and we said hi to each other, and that was it. And then when I got involved with the Punisher No Mercy project, we were still well, they had no idea what an assistant director was. They had no idea. And I'm like, first I came onto that project as an art director. Then I convinced the top guy that he should let me direct the film. And then he heard me out and he said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I said, okay, step 2, I need an assistant director. And he's like, okay, well, what for? I'm like, well, because of this. He's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, those guys. Oh, yes, okay, yeah, all right, I know what you mean. Like the assistant directors, okay. And then he randomly pulled Micheal Treder's name out of the hat. And he's like, yeah, I'm talking to this guy, Micheal Treder. And I'm like, oh. And I kind of just said, okay, no, you know what? I got a good feeling about that guy. Yeah, let's do that. Let's bring him in. And then we've accidentally ended up working together on this project. And it's, you know, I don't want to say it was fate or whatever.
No, it was.
Maybe it's just the minuscule size of the scene that we would have ended up.
Yeah,
on the
I think
set
it's
somewhere.
more of a testament to the size of the kind of low budget Anglo film community that Montreal has. But I mean, the fact that we live 2 blocks away, that we're interested in reasonably the same amount of stuff, that we get along well.
Yeah.
I think, you know,
It upped
yeah,
our chances.
sure.
From
I don't
like
wanna-
in a Tinder fashion.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't really know what a director or an assistant director really do.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that just
I don't even
happens
think
behind the
we
scene.
know what.
Listen, nobody knows what anybody does. This is a realization I've come to, and we talked about this last time when we talked about these generations that we live in, where we're living in a movie fantasy life, where we try to bring about a narrative, a film narrative to our own lives, because we want it to play out that way, because it's nice and concise, or it's packaged and makes sense, like in films. That is one of the things that I've encountered the most. The irony with filmmaking is that even filmmakers there's a romance about doing the actual job, about actually making the films. So this is responsible for every single jackass that has ever walked into a set and started yelling at everybody, because
every person on a film set thinks that the film can't be made without them.
right. But they also, many times, those that haven't worked or haven't sort of learned the trade, have a movie definition of what a director is, and a movie definition.
And
Right?
every student
Yeah.
that walks into a filmmaking class, they all, I guess, want to be directors.
First
You always
year,
know
oh.
who the director is because they look like the director.
Right.
You know, they wear the scarf or the
the
hat.
scarf,
you know what I
yeah.
mean,
You know
right?
what?
Indoor scarves.
Yeah.
I have seen it
Yeah.
firsthand. First year of film school.
If
this
the
was exactly
cinematographer doesn't ride on a fixie bike, then he's not a real
Yeah.
cinematographer.
No, there was a whole bunch of those kids, and to be fair, I mean, they're young, so I don't begrudge them necessarily, but you could tell the guy with the scarf and the weird hat, the old timey hat,
A beret.
a beret maybe.
Yeah.
It's not that silly. Oh, you're not far off, Richard. You're not far off.
Yeah, I'm just imagining it.
I would wear a beret on.
I remember a guy. I think he was maybe half Asian. He looked like a halfer. When you're a halfer, you recognize halfers really quickly. So he wasn't a purebred. He was a halfer. And the only reason I mention this is because, you know, if he had come here from Japan or Taiwan or whatever, I mean, okay, I'd give him a little bit of eccentricity pass. But clearly this guy was from the South Shore or West Island. Boucherville or Gatineau or wherever the hell he was from. And he was clearly a huge Akira Kurosawa fan, right? Because
naturally.
He had the 50s Japan, like the Ray-Bans and the scarf. And he kept doing this with his fingers, like he's trying to feel the texture of things. He's like
In the air.
in the air.
Yeah, he's thinking with his hands.
He's tasting the texture of the air or whatever.
Yeah,
But he was like 20 years old, so I'm like, I'm not gonna shit on him. But that exact thing happened. The teacher, one of the teachers, literally went, "Okay, who wants to be director?" And then like 3/4 of the hands went up.
Everybody wants to be a director.
And then once we started to get the info, the hands started to lower more and more, right?
Yeah.
And that's true, but I found out afterwards, or I realized afterwards, that's the truth about everyone thinks we think we know what a plumber does.
Right.
We think we know what cops do, doctors do, but I think most of us are still working with movie and TV cliches.
Yeah, I think we do because we're in that kind of world, but I don't know if everybody does.
I think so.
Yeah?
I think even more so.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we are in a position to notice that people are actually thinking about the cliche. Like we're because we get a little bit of behind the scenes, but like I said, the director. Every time I've seen one of those directors walk on set and start yelling and throwing their weight around, or actresses like acting up, and again, and Michael has probably a million. I know he has a bunch of great stories about this, but every time I've seen somebody act the fool on a set, I could tell that they are going with what they think they're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I should be yelling because I'm the director. You're like, nope, that's not a requirement anywhere.
Well, it goes back to like what people wanted to be when they grew up, be it the fireman or the whatever.
Exactly.
I remember being like in a concert band, and at the first day where everybody chose their instruments was really interesting because like everybody wanted to play the drums because they thought they were going to be like playing some like sick parts and whatnot. But really, what ended up doing was like every like 4 minutes they'd hit the gong once,
yeah,
sort of thing. Like
you got to keep up with the whole band that's all discordant and.
Well, they're picturing their favorite band,
right?
Like rock band, but
be,
like you're playing like classical music,
right?
Right, so
yeah,
it's not quite the same thing. So perception versus reality is
this is what I'm saying.
Quite different.
Which instrument did you end up? I think you picked the saxophone.
I ended up playing the saxophone. Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds like you didn't want the saxophone. You ended up with it.
I just kind of got placed with the saxophone.
Okay.
I was strong enough to be able to carry it home to practice. So
that was it.
They gauged you based on size.
Size.
It's like, can you carry a tenor saxophone?
Which is why the fat kid always gets a tuba, right?
The fat kids get the tuba.
My brother played the tuba.
There you go.
He got stuck with an instrument. Yeah.
This is Mark.
Danny
got the tuba.
Yeah.
He's not a large fellow.
No, but he's strong for his size.
Well, he's got lungs. We know that for a fact.
But the tuba part's like just like boom, boom, boom.
The NW song.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. It's always the same thing.
That still takes. He's made the most of it, hasn't he? Of his musical training, your brother.
Yeah, he's a musical genius, which is why it's interesting that he was stuck with the tuba. But that's high school for you,
right?
Yeah.
No, but I think not only now just about jobs, everything. There's misconceptions constantly about everything, everywhere. I'm more and more developing this theory that, again, I'm sure more learned and intelligent people have articulated in a far superior way. But I'm reminded of this bit in Batman, one of the Batman comics, where Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, whichever way you want to pronounce it, dorks. He in one of his first appearances, Ra's al Ghul's evil plan is actually.
What is an Al Ghul, anyways?
I think that's just his last name.
Because like Ra's, it's Ra, like apostrophe S, so it's possessive. So it's Ra's al Ghul.
I just think they wanted to.
Or is
make
it just
sound,
it's supposed to sound?
They just wanted to make him weird, Arabic, weird
okay,
Asiatic, Oriental.
It always confused me.
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with anything, but I could be wrong. Geeks might correct us.
Write it now.
Write it now and tell us. Yeah, seriously, if anyone knows, school us. But anyway, so one of Ra's al Ghul's earliest schemes was to do like a Tower of Babel thing where he basically disrupted communication globally by doing something. I think he built a tower and it scrambled all languages and all forms of communication. Nobody could understand anyone. Like, no matter how hard you tried, you could not be understood by the other person. And then planes started to crash and the world was in chaos and nobody could communicate anything to anybody, which is super cool, right? But I think that we are already under that, in that condition socially. I think that we understand each other sufficiently to be able to make things function, but I think there is a tremendous amount of confusion in this world that we don't acknowledge. We think we're talking about the same thing when we use words, but I think consistently I see proof that we don't think of, when you say director, you're like, yeah, director, but you have
kind of like social memes.
Yeah, everyone has their definition of what that means.
Yeah.
And then arguments eventually explode over the fact when the actual differences between those definitions.
It's one of the first steps you get into if you get into debate or you do any kind of philosophy of any sort. Then it's all about defining your terms.
Operational definitions.
You know, when you say this, for the purpose of this discussion, this word means this, and
Yeah.
heretofore shall be referred to as kind of thing.
Yeah, you have to do that because by nature, human beings are just, they will make things their own. Their moods will kick in or whatever. And so in filmmaking, I haven't come close to figuring out what it is as a craft, but it is certainly a very interesting sociological experiment to spend time doing it and to occupy different positions, which you've done,
Which
right?
I have done, yeah.
So you've done everything from write to direct.
Yeah, I've done everything on a film set, except for maybe I don't think I've ever done makeup.
Okay.
But beyond that, I've done almost everything, and that was my way of. Because I never went to film school, I didn't have that luxury of being like, oh, this is how it is done. I mean, my film school was being on film sets and YouTube videos. Right? Learning as I needed to learn.
We were talking about that yesterday, weren't we? About how strong DIY culture has become because of the internet.
Yeah, it's invaluable, and that's
they have the jobs now.
Yeah,
over
and that's
the educated people.
That's my recommendation. Whenever people say, "Oh, my first time on a film set doing this, what do I do?" And I was like, "Go on YouTube, look it up, figure it out. If you can't." One of the best advice my dad ever gave me regarding a job was if you don't know how to do it, if you don't know how to do something at a job, say you do. And then learn. Say you do and learn.
Like getting over your head.
Yeah, just figure it out. It's like, oh, do you know how to drive the forklift?
Sure.
Yes. And then back into something until you learn.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, and that's exactly what I did.
Is your dad 50 Cent? I'm just asking.
My dad is 50 Cent.
Get rich or die trying.
Yeah.
Did he tell you that too?
Yeah.
No, but that's sound advice. I mean, except that can work for a specific kind of person, right? I think if you were maybe not as... Because you're a smart guy.
Right. I've been on sets where people clearly don't know what they're doing.
They keep trying to fake it. But
Yeah, it's like you're ooh,
they can't bring it.
Yeah. But I wonder if that has to do with maybe they're just not made for it. You know how some people aren't just like you. You shouldn't be a cook.
We are not created equal.
American Idol tells us that there's a lot of people there who shouldn't be singing.
Yeah.
Some people just shouldn't be on film sets
or around other people.
So,
Richard, I seem to recall that you flirted with film and communication as well, right? I seem to remember.
I did a bit in school, but like nothing fancy.
Well, what was the context? Like it was just part of one of your classes, or?
Well, I had some electives to take, so like I was interested in that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I tried it out. I did some stuff. This is like back in like the old editing rooms with like film and stuff. But yeah, and I did a bit of that. I did like a bit of photography in high school and more recently as well. But I dabble in these things, but I'm certainly not on the same level as you guys.
Right. Well, that's just because you took a different path. But were you? I mean, I remember a few years ago, Richard and I, in our group of friends, we got into this really fun headspace. I don't know how this happened, but we decided to start making these videos for each other for our birthdays. Right. So what would happen is let's say your birthday's coming up, and then we would all like secretly get together behind your back and then get a whole bunch of people that you cared about, like in a "this is your life" kind of way, to send
an intervention.
To send in celebrity intervention, to send in little video clips of them saying something to you, right? And then we
shot most of it actually.
We shot most of it, yeah.
We like made it like appointments with people to come over and little handy cam and
yeah, and
I love you.
Some people would be like, yeah, I love you, man, you're my best friend, I just want to let you know.
I love you, butt face.
Yeah. And then others and then it's really interesting. Isn't it interesting how some people's secret theatrical side came out?
Yeah.
Right? Someone who you just expected to go like, hey, Michael, I just want to, like, he shows up.
They have the flourish of the dramatic.
Yeah.
They break out into song.
They break out into song. They brought props and costumes. You're like, oh,
it's like, who do you Carrot Top now?
There's no Michael like I know.
It ended up being super fun, but what I remember is when we were editing, and at this point, I barely knew what the hell I was doing too. I was really just more enthusiasm than know-how. I remember you having an actual pretty cool flair. Like, you seem to be pretty instinctively... Like, I remember we cut the video, and it was actually pretty good.
I thought we did okay.
Like you seem to legitimately have fun.
Yeah.
So I don't
we had a
think...
great
Which is something
time
you
with it.
don't have a lot of, Richard.
Yeah, I got to work on that. Yeah.
Richard, why don't you have fun?
No, I enjoy dabbling in like artistic pursuits, but I'm just not as specialized, I suppose.
Right. But you also did some other stuff, right? Because I remember when I first met you and I went to your house for the first time, I remember a bunch of sculptures.
Yeah, I did some sculpture, I did some drawing stuff. I've dabbled in a lot of different things.
Saxophones and gargoyles.
Yeah.
Gargoyles.
Yeah.
And you used to do that thing with the crystal ball, right? With the... What's that called?
Oh, the contact juggling?
Contact juggling.
Oh, like David Bowie.
Yeah.
Yeah? You were like
It was all about
Goblin
that
King.
labyrinth.
Is that what inspired you? to do it?
No, it wasn't that.
It's like you had a big crush on Jennifer Connelly. It's like the only way I can win her is contact juggling.
Maybe it was in the back of my mind. I don't know.
But that was cool. Like you were kind of really into that stuff.
Not really into it, but
Yeah.
like I dabbled a little bit. You know.
It was your French Canadian side.
Maybe.
It was that, or
Maybe
because
it's
I have a
that.
theory about French Canadians. You guys have a little bit of Carney in you.
Yeah.
I don't know where it comes from.
Like Cirque du Soleil, kind of.
Yeah, but even before that, right? Like there's a lot of Renaissance like fairs, and
It's like the Cour de Bois with an accordion in the woods.
there's a
Trying
circus
to
thing.
entertain people because it's so fucking cold outside.
Yeah, that was something.
My brother Mark got into it, and he was kind of showing me. Once again, we go back to YouTube videos, right?
Yeah.
Of all these guys doing this cool stuff, and so I gave it a shot.
You
I still have them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do still do it sometimes. For fun?
A little bit, not,
Yeah.
not too much, but it's
No,
it's fun.
I'm telling you, as an outside observer of 30 years, your people have a circus thing going on, because till this day, the one thing that I'm sure Michael can attest to, I don't think you find this in Calgary or anywhere west, maybe in Vancouver, but here it's not abnormal on a regular summer day to see a guy zip by on a unicycle
Yeah.
with
A jester hat.
with a jester hat with a couple of cases of beer on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Or to go to one of those festivals downtown.
Yeah.
There's a guy with like
That's
a crow
true.
mask,
Devil sticks.
devil sticks, or on stilts, playing the
Yeah.
violin.
Yeah, I mean in Edmonton you'll get that, but you'll be like, man, that guy's drunk.
Okay, so he's a weirdo.
Yeah, and here it's like, oh, it's a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, even in the fashion,
Yeah.
even in the
Yeah.
fashion, like if you look at real Quebecois fashion, there's this little bit of Carney, the piecemeal, asymmetrical. There's a I always hear like bip, bip, somewhere in the background there. There's something to it.
I mean, I think it's like cultural, but I don't know if it's dependent on being, French Canadian or anything, because I like the West is conservative,
Uh-huh.
right? And so here you've got this artistic, liberal.
The
I mean,
port town.
Montreal,
Yeah.
right? We're
what is
hip
the
and
attitude?
cool.
What is
We're
the
the Europe of North
yeah,
America
I mean,
and stuff.
like
What do people really say, like in Edmonton or whatever?
I mean, Edmonton is north, and that's where I spent most of my time. And it's oil rigs and trucks.
Right.
It's
it's Hicks.
like it's Hicks. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to offend anyone out west.
No, but we love our Hicks.
I
but it's
have before.
Stampede.
Yeah, it's rural, so it's you're a farmer. And then the further you go west, you get Calgary, and that's more cowboys, and it's very
Cowpokey.
like it's
We have our share of
conservative.
Hicks, too,
It's-
though.
yeah, oh, it is, and
Everywhere has their Hicks.
everywhere has their version of a hick.
Everybody's got rednecks.
Yeah, we established this sometime ago. I actually, my Egyptian side, they're rednecks.
Are they?
Yeah. They're mango.
They drive the
farming.
truck out.
No,
back.
it's a different bag, but it's the same concept. Rednecks are essentially the first people away from the cities,
Yeah.
right?
The guys that never felt wanted, so they decided to go start a farm or something.
they're still doing it agrarian style.
Yeah,
Salt of the earth.
yeah.
And they're uneducated in a sense, but in another way, they're still tied to the land, and so they're wiser in a sense. They have a little bit of a genuine, like they don't care about what you're wearing and what the fuck you're talking about. Like they just want to know how you're doing and how's your mom.
My jeans are practical. Okay, that's
Yeah.
all I care about.
Yeah.
Do they cover my butt? That's all.
And they have a mess of
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
right?
Because you need somebody. You need
they
somebody,
need hands.
Yeah.
They need field hands.
And they actually know what a community feels like.
Right.
You know,
for
and
better
actually
or for
give
worse.
a shit about each other. Yeah.
They do give a shit about each other, but they also talk about each other constantly, and they marry each other's sisters, and there's a whole bunch of that stuff going on. But I'm just curious as to like coming from Edmonton or coming from that part of the country before you came here. What was the perception? What is the attitude?
I remember my first kind of like, oh, Quebec is weird because it was.
Who was giving you this information?
My older brother was part of the Lego club. You remember the Lego club? Yeah, you could like sign up and you pay your money and you get like this catalog and they send you like a book. It was like a whole magazine about these are the new products. This is what we're building at Lego Home Office.
Oh,
and it was like the Canadian Lego club. And my brother would get this magazine once a month.
That's awesome.
And you'd get these kids who would send in their creation. So they'd take a picture and they'd send in their creation. And, so you'd get 2 pages of these kids sending in their creations. And it would be like, this is John with a dragon. And it wouldn't be a dragon. It would look like a dragon. But it'd be like, oh, he's 6, so it's cute. But it was always like, because it was a Canadian Lego club, it was always like, between these 12 kids who were sending in pictures, it was like 9 of them were from Quebec.
Okay.
Right,
So
because it was, and it was always like, I remember even then it was like, Quebec's this big place way over there. It's like, but yet it wasn't, because you always knew that it was like a portion of this bigger picture, and I never thought I'd live here, and here I am.
But did you have a sense of Montreal being a weird town?
No. I knew nothing about Montreal until like a year before we knew we were moving. We came for the summer, my wife and I. We went on this like extended kind of vacation. We went for a month and we stayed here. We fell in love with the city because it's a great city, but it was a cultural shock because it was very different. We came in the summer, which was like the ideal time to go to Montreal. Montreal's a summer town. You don't
just say it, man. Immigrants.
Well, it was
say it. It's
no.
okay.
I mean,
you're in a safe place.
for me,
come on, man. It had to freak you out.
It was.
You went from like, oh, there's Jimmy Bob, the one adopted black kid.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say that there's not
every shade and color.
There aren't, immigrants out west, because there are. But it was finding. It was finding a. All of a sudden, you're surrounded by artists.
Uh-huh.
You're surrounded by the guy on the unicycle. You're surrounded by some stilt walker. It was like
Buskers
a party all the time.
Yeah.
And it was, and that's Montreal in the summer. It's a party all the time. And that was really appealing because Edmonton is nice in the summer. It's warm. It's not too hot. It can get hot. But there's like a wind that blows through and it cools everything down. And they have like festivals and they have, food fairs and things like that. But it's never...
It's all kind of homey.
And it doesn't have the same... flavor that Montreal has.
Like the prostitutes.
Yeah.
Drug dealers.
Yeah, I mean, I saw my first prostitute in Montreal. I'm a grown man. I was like, holy shit.
You see, wow. Richard, you thought I was being cynical. We're known for our prostitutes.
You're walking,
and
prostitutes and strip clubs.
Yeah.
I mean,
we are known for that.
We're famous.
And again, going back to this idea of people having fantasies about and then the reality, a fair amount of Montreal tourism are Americans. Not only coming here because they can drink, because the drinking age is 18, and then,
but also because of the strippers.
They come here and I've seen a lot of them a little bit disappointed sometimes because they expected it to be wall to wall like sex town, right?
But it is if you go to the right street.
But sure,
you get asked for directions quite a bit by tourists, or like, we heard of super sex.
Yeah.
Where's the super sex?
Where is the super sex?
We heard that it's super.
Yeah.
And where is it?
I know for a fact that someone's from out of town where they say, "Hey, buddy."
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, buddy." That's like you're not a Montrealer.
Where do y'all keep the strippers?
Yeah. Hey, pal. Hey, buddy. Hey, man. Hey, dude. Hey, dude. But
where the strippers at?
Where the strippers at? But they think, I mean, I guess if you're from certain states where they are in fact really conservative, or even certain parts of Canada where it's a little bit quiet, sleepy town, you come to Montreal and it's got that Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, I think Montreal might be more of the Gomorrah than the Sodom.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know what would
Do
be
they think of us as like the red light district kind of thing?
Yeah,
Amsterdam
I mean,
of
I
Canada.
don't know. It's like that cool city.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
But it's not too big.
It's
right?
not too big. Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
think that's what we have as a staple too. Is that like if you want to go to the one that's almost
that isn't Toronto.
like yeah.
Yeah, like Toronto's like the business end, and whereas
Well, they keep saying it's New York, but 10 years behind. Like it's right with a bit less of the charm, but it's definitely like a super city.
yeah.
But if you want the city feel, but that you can leave it in 20 minutes, you can be outside of.
Yeah.
then
I mean,
that's
I like Montreal. It's a great city. It's just
So did the French freak you out?
the French freaked me out. I didn't anticipate. I mean, I've always anticipated there would be
Learning curve. Or-
like a uphill battle.
Did you expect to be like shunned?
I'd heard rumors of it. My wife, the first couple of years, would get yelled at on the street when she would be speaking English. I never got that, but I
Really?
think that because it's a gender thing, maybe no one's gonna start telling me. You know, I'm not a small guy, but no one's gonna yell at me and go, "Oh man, speak French." You know,
That's never happened to you.
No.
It's happened to me a few times.
Yeah, no, my wife.
But it's
used to
always
get it a
funny
lot.
because I start cursing
and then you
them out
you curse them out in French.
in like, but not only in French, but
Like perfect
I speak Quebecois.
yeah,
dialect, like their own dialect.
Yeah, I made it my business, and my mom made it our business to like within 3 months I was up and running in French
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
landed in this country. So I will get some regional like mustard on my shit. But I'll let whoever this misguided
Yeah,
individual
yeah.
get their rage on, and I'll just nod, yeah, and then I'll lace him in Quebecois that's so thick that the terror in their face is always fun to behold.
Yeah.
Or I'll say something like, I speak 3 languages, buddy. You barely speak 1.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but
Yeah.
honestly, to be fair to Quebec and French Canadians, there have been very few occurrences of that.
Yeah,
And many more occurrences of people being fucking sweet and understanding
Yeah.
beyond, welcoming beyond anywhere that I've been in the world.
for every like police officer or paramedic that you get that refuses to speak English for some reason,
Right. Yeah, you get a couple of those once in a while.
there's 9 stories of people being great people
Exactly.
trying to communicate, and that's what's more important,
Yeah.
I guess.
I was like up north, like super like Lac Saint Jean kind of area with some Spanish speaking friends, and they're just speaking like they're like lacing into each other in Spanish. They're just like they're calling each other's mothers like different things.
These are your
and-
friends.
Yeah, and they're
Okay.
screaming at each other. And then some lady, like some small town lady, just comes up to me and goes like, "Oh, it's so nice. They're speaking Spanish. Like it sounds like they're singing."
Oh.
Like in French, like, and she just like, oh,
That's so romantic.
It's so beautiful
c'est comme il
language.
chante, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Well, because there's that's the irony or the funny part of Quebec, right? Is that even during the darkest years of animosity with the rest of English Canada, they've always loved the shit out of Americans, right? Like you go
Because they need the Americans.
but they love them.
Yeah.
They love Elvis. They
Oh
love
yeah,
Elvis.
in that sense, American culture. Yes.
Country music, like just go east.
Yeah.
Or go
Yeah.
north, right? They
Oh, yeah.
love that. They've adopted that culture fully.
country is really strong here.
And Quebec
Like
is
achy breaky, you know.
Oh, yeah.
the
Billy
the
Ray.
line dancing and the whole thing. That was big.
terrible.
I think that was bigger here than anywhere else.
Like they clearly love multicultural things,
Yeah.
but there's still this leftover wedge of animosity that's almost gone now.
Yeah.
Especially after the last election.
But we all have a tendency to sort of romanticize other
That's what we were talking
other
about.
languages, right? And
Everything.
It goes back a little bit to the film dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, we think that all people with British accents are intelligent.
Intelligent.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like we
A
think-
certain kind of British accent. You know, it's going to
Right.
be Queen's English.
Paul-
the
Paul
Cockney,
Bettany-
they're stupid.
Paul Bettany just
Yeah.
said that again in an interview very recently, that he finds that hilarious, that people think he's really smart because he has the Queen's
yeah.
English,
Yeah.
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 and somehow
But he's got like the perfect Queen's English.
Yeah.
Like he's like, you know.
But it's fake. Did you know that? I think
Oh,
it's
I'm
fake.
sure it's fake.
I mean, fake in the sense like Patrick Stewart. Apparently, his
Hmm.
Queen's English is completely for show
Yeah,
Really?
because he's a Yorkshireman.
Oh, okay.
And one of his old pals, like in some interview, was like, "It's look when you're an actor, you have to master that English because that's the one
Well,
the Americans.
it's Shakespearean.
It's Shakespearean.
Patrick Stewart, like, just reeks of Shakespeare.
Yeah, and
you know.
theater and stage.
I mean, yeah, he's like, you know, I'm on the Enterprise,
Yeah.
but I'm commanding crowds of people.
Engage.
Yeah, you know, I mean, anybody else would have been like, yeah,
Make
yeah,
it so.
engage. But he's like,
They're expected to do that.
engage. You
Right.
know, it's
But he's a
noble.
Yorkshireman, so
Yeah.
he's like from Yorkshire is. I mean, depending on what type of person you talk to, or from where in Britain, like again, yeah, you know, what is it? They hate the North. The North hates the South. You know, and the South hate the
It's
West.
like everywhere
East.
else. It's-
Everywhere,
you-
this is the same story.
You find your clique and you stay in it, and you hate everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's completely different from the outside, right? So
That's
everybody
been
who
my
has a
experience.
French accent or an Italian accent or maybe like, you know, Spanish South American, like the romantic.
Yeah,
You know, you get a little bit of that when you visit like an English speaking place.
yeah.
Unilingual people, and they're like, "Oh, you speak French?
Ooh.
Speak to me a little bit in French.
Tell me of love.
Tell me about your French." You know?
Tell me about love and romance, right? Which is again a great export as a stereotype, right?
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
The romance of French, right? If you have a French accent, by the way, and you talk to Americans, and I teach a fair bit of people who are French Canadian, who work for companies who have U.S. branches or U.S. colleagues,
Mhm.
and apparently they routinely, because Americans, what I love about them in some places, that when they love something, they're not shy. They'll just be like, "Can you do that talk some more?
Yeah.
Can you do that fancy talk you do?
Say it again. Say it just like you just said it.
Wait, hey, come here, come here.
Pronounce
darling."
that word correctly again. Oh, yeah.
They'll be like, "No, do that to perform.
Yeah.
Perform that thing that makes me giddy, right?"
Yeah.
It's the reason why celebrities get like, you know, followed and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people like want to get into their cars and jump over their fences. And routinely when you talk to their colleagues in New York or whatever, people are like, they're getting, like, I had one student who has gotten a proposal over the phone from a colleague that she's never met, that works as a counterpart in a New York office. And after like
Just because she's got an accent.
he's like, at once he's just like, "Angie," he's like, I'm sorry, I gotta tell you, that accent's driving me crazy. Like, you know, like something to that effect, just like,
Murray me.
I mean, it wasn't like a hick or whatever.
Murray
It was
me,
just
Angie.
Like,
Murray me.
Some guy was like, "God damn it, that accent is driving me mad." It's like, I know what you look like because I've seen you in like.
I'm not that
conferences.
attracted to you, but
No, but it's like, you're a pretty girl, but that accent is driving me mad, right?
Yeah.
And I can understand it, but then, you know, everywhere else it depends. Like somewhere it's novel, other places it's not.
I would imagine it'd be more of a thing if you came from a place that was a little less multicultural. Like,
Yeah,
here in Montreal, it's
yeah.
kind of a mixing pot thing.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah,
Like does that add to the magic?
I knew people from Quebec who had moved from Montreal in Edmonton, so it was never really a you know
Yeah, it's not another.
it wasn't
It's not another planet.
it wasn't anything special. And then of course on TV, I mean, I grew up with Peasant Vision, you know, which is your 5 basic channels, and there was always that one channel that you never watched, but it was always a French CBC, and so we always had that. And every once in a while they'd have some poorly dubbed French movie, you know, they'd Die Hard playing in French, and so you'd watch Die Hard in French. I didn't speak French, but I'd watched Die Hard enough that, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I'm watching Die Hard. It just happens to be
You
in
could
French.
learn French
Yeah,
because you knew
yeah,
Die Hard so
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So it was never super, I guess, foreign to me. It was something that I knew and that I was familiar with. But then Quebecois is very different from French,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
That's
I
a
think,
whole story.
I think, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But
Being Canadian, you probably have a better appreciation of that than maybe somebody from like the Midwest.
maybe,
you know, who's
maybe,
just like,
yeah,
"Oh, you talk
yeah,
funny," you know?
yeah. I mean, you're putting on an accent sometimes when you're speaking to people, you know, as a joke, and there's a very different. Quebecois is a very, you know, this kind of accent.
Very,
and,
yeah,
you know,
guttural.
yeah.
Whereas the
And
French is more like pew, 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 pew,
yeah,
pew,
but
pew.
to anyone else, it's like, oh, it's French.
Well, you know what? There are nuances there as well because again, if you get Northern Parisian, if you get Parisians, that's one deal. And then if you get people from the north, they tend to be friendlier, homier types, like kind of like out west.
Yeah.
And a lot more family oriented. But if you get Southerners, they're a little bit more hot tempered, and their accents tend to get a little funky. Where they get they get made fun of by the
yeah. It's not a perfect French.
Well, right, or it's like it's got a bit of
version,
like
it's
Basque,
got an accent,
or it's got
yeah.
Spanish or Gascon, right,
Yeah.
which has like a whole other thing. So they have their subdivisions, but one thing I think most of them agree on, including Parisians themselves, is that Paris is weird, and Parisian French is garbage French. That it's
Do you think Parisian French is garbage?
Yeah, that it's deteriorated and it's become anglicized and it's become very pop culture-y.
Because it's like touristy.
Back in the day, like they would look down on Quebec French as being too anglicized,
right? And weird.
And it's true. Like we've got a bunch of English words that we use
to a certain degree,
interchangeably.
Yeah.
But I remember my dad going to Paris. Like he worked for a company, and they had a division in Paris, and he would come back and say like, "Wow, they have all these super super weird English words that they use, but they pronounce them in a French way. So like a blackboard, which we would call a tableau, we call it a tableau.
Yeah,
they would call it a blackboard.
And blackboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like super weird, and then he'd come back and be like, how dare they criticize us for using English? We use it better than they do, like the English words that we take, at least it makes sense.
This is a perfect opportunity to segue into something I really wanted to talk about with you guys. Have you heard there's like elections in the Ukraine right now? And there's no reason why you should care about this until you hear this next part. So, in typical Eastern European fashion, right? Or just whatever, the world now, to show you the power of Star Wars. There's a candidate who's presented himself for fire in a hole.
Fire in the hole.
Oh, that was a bit late. Come on.
Oh, fire in the hole.
Yeah, there you go. Fire in a hole. Thank you. Cheers, gentlemen.
I didn't realize that was what you guys went for.
Well, now you know.
Okay.
And knowing is half the battle.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
So there's this guy in the Ukraine who's this candidate who has presented himself for election, and he's as Darth Vader. So he's like, I'm Darth Vader, and
he's running as Darth Vader.
He's running as Darth Vader, and he's fully dressed, like he's got a legit Darth Vader. It's not even like a cheap one. He's got like a pretty good quality Darth Vader costume, and it's been a bit of a fiasco. I mean, for them, this is very new to do this kind of stuff.
This is in Ukraine.
Yes. We see that kind of shit here all the time, right?
Yeah. Like these nuts.
These nuts. I saw a guy during the last election. There was a bunch of posters. Somebody had put up his cat.
Oh yeah.
In this election,
I'd vote for a cat.
I thought of you, and I was like, you would have this.
I'd vote for a cat.
The slogan was super cute too. It was like here's Bobby or whatever the cat's name was, and the slogan was, not worse than the others.
That's I've read the cat though.
Right. So that's a little bit of social commentary that's very common here in North America.
But what if he wins?
Well, very little chance.
I mean, he's not going to win.
But anyway, so Darth Vader. But today, what I read and I saw a video of that cracked me up. And I guys, if anybody's listening to this, Google it because it's good for a laugh. So the guy that is running as Darth Vader went to the Parliament today to either officially sign his name in or to do some official function as a guy who's actually running for president. And he was being driven by Chewbacca. And that guy in a legit Chewbacca outfit, and like a really good one once again. And there's literally like the 7-foot guy like looking like Chewbacca, and
he was huge.
Yeah, and he was like driving him to this function, and then they ran into the police, and the police arrested them for God knows what reason. And there's a video now of Chewbacca being like slammed onto the hood, and they're like, you're almost like your North American cynical prank.
It's like, oh, this is just
This is a
Disney pulling up. This is publicity.
This is some kind of Pepsi commercial that we're gonna find out about like in 6 months. But as you look around at the sort of, nobody's laughing. They like, and they still have those weird pseudo communist Soviet-looking uniforms, like the cops, those
Ukraine,
really, those big hats.
Yeah.
And they rode in with like the full imperial march, like da, da, da,
I don't know,
da, da,
but there's
da, da, da.
I think there was a commercial, right?
Well, this is apparently a thing in the Ukraine where where there's these guys who run regularly as Darth Vader, and
it's a thing.
and they legit changed their name legally to Darth Vader in order to be able to do it. And they also just unveiled a statue of Darth Vader. Which used to be a Lenin statue.
That's right. It's a converted statue.
Yeah.
That's great.
They took a Lenin statue.
I like that.
So what is the thing with do we know why they're obsessed with Darth Vader?
I don't know why. They just, I don't know. They're Ukrainian. Who knows?
Because they're like, at heart, they're like 7 years old. And everyone was obsessed with Darth Vader at 7.
I guess I could see them embracing like Luke Skywalker or Yoda, because they might feel the whole rebellion empire thing going with Russia.
I think it's a form of protest because the regime doesn't represent them.
Oh, because it's like a puppet government, or
basically, yeah. That's my understanding. Is it's like a form of satire in order for them to
keep doing this,
right?
But just and
that's why they play the Imperial March, and that's why Darth Vader is running, because the whole thing's a farce at least in this faction's eyes.
Okay.
Here in Canada, we just have the Rhinoceros Party, and we settle with that.
Well, there were some defacings of the Liberal Party.
Yeah, well,
right. People were putting up like Klingons on the
because they were bizarre pictures, though. They were just bizarre kind of publicity.
They went super dark.
Yeah, it was dramatic. It was
like red backgrounds.
It was like I mean, I remember the the last provincial election. All the the PQ had really bad pictures.
Yeah, they looked like they were hostages.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The lighting was bad. They were like pale. They were pasty. Yeah. Eyes were big, like they had just seen the sun for the first time in,
it was
in
bad
a decade.
Photoshop. Bad Photoshop.
And then now the Liberals just went full like
dark side.
I am gonna run the shit out of this.
It was like overly photoshopped, like red writing. Like black background.
It was like they broke the first rule of photography, which was never shoot your subject head on. It was very like wham, like
right in your face.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, be that as it may, whatever the situation in the Ukraine is, and I do have a Ukrainian student who I'm going to quiz about this whole situation now that I just realized.
Please report back. Yeah, we need to know.
He's
Inquiring minds.
He's fresh off the boat. His name's Anton, and he's hilarious. He's like a really, really hilarious
He
guy.
might know Darth Vader.
No, but he'll tell me what the deal is. He loves to monopolize the class. Like there are 4 other students, and he doesn't let them talk, which I don't mind, because apart from one of the other students, who's an interesting guy but hard to understand, the other 2 are kind of just ill at ease. So I love listening to him, and he's got hilarious stories. Like he'll tell me.
Ukrainian guys always have great stories.
Yeah, he's a hilarious guy.
Yeah.
So I'll run it by him, but just without knowing anything else, just the footage of Chewbacca being arrested is, when you watch it, I hope you'll have this, or I think you'll have the same reaction I did. Is first couple of seconds it's funny, and then you're like, the Star Wars geek in you starts getting upset.
Yeah, there's 5 guys arresting Chewbacca.
You're
what
like,
the hell?
Leave him alone. And you're like, this is a Ukrainian guy.
Leave the Wookiee alone.
He's a noble creature.
Yeah, don't you know?
He's in danger.
Let the Wookiee win. Let the Wookiee win. I think it would be a bit criminal for us to have you on, mention that you're a filmmaker and that you've had some crazy encounters and such.
And not talk about that.
Yeah, not actually ask you to tell us an anecdote.
Some war stories.
Yeah,
some
man.
war stories.
Yeah, tell us. I don't know. Tell us something you get something off your chest, or maybe entertain us.
Well, I always want to get things off my chest. It's a matter of whether I should get them off my chest.
Okay.
You can change the names. Protect the innocent.
So one time I was directing this film, or I was ADing this film for this. No. No, I don't know. I used to AD a lot, and now I produce a lot more, and I direct.
To be clear, ADing is...
ADing is assistant directing, and that's basically
let's clear that up right now.
So
what does that mean?
To me, what it's always been, it means something different for everybody else. I mean, it's a set job. But for me, it's always meant that it was basically the person that keeps the film running, the person that runs the film. For people that don't know film and you're watching, if you ever watch like behind the scenes stuff and there's somebody yelling, that's the AD. Usually they're the person that calls action for background or explosions or things like that.
They're the William
They're
Rikers.
right? They're
the William Rikers.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah. Basically, when the director is hungover playing PlayStation, the AD is there on set running things, making sure everything runs smooth. So when the director comes out of his trailer, all he has to do is yell action, and the film will go according.
If a director's job is, in the best of circumstances, is to work with the actors, to focus on the storytelling, on the performances, and in a good team, in a good mix, what you'd have is a director who can focus on that and deliver the vision, and also act as a little bit of a leader to the whole production, but a spiritual leader, in the sense that he should not be constantly dealing with all of the intricacies of the logistics and all that. That's what all these other people are for.
Right? It's basically your job as an assistant director to take the stress away from the director.
Okay.
There's a hierarchy in films, and you get that kind of luxury when you're on bigger film sets, but on small sets, the AD becomes the guy who just takes all the stress.
Which is something you like.
Which is something I like, but I hate that at the end of the day, what I don't AD anymore. I AD'd my last shoot this kind of spring. That was on this web series. That was the last time I AD'd, and that's the last time I will AD. So I'm retired officially from ADing.
It's ruined it for you?
It's run its course.
That's maybe nicer to say.
It was what I needed for many years, and then now it's done, and I've moved on from that. But it definitely, I like problem solving.
Let me just say that ADing is not a job that
it's a rough job.
Good ADs are hard to find.
When I hire people to be ADs on shoots, one of the first questions I ask them is, do you want to be an AD, or are you being an AD because you think you want to be an AD? Because I think that's really important, because I know so many people that AD and then they get broken so badly that they, you find them working at a 7-Eleven, and so it's something that you actually have to want to do.
You need to be able to thrive in chaos.
Yeah, you have to. It's a skill set. Like, it's not something that, I've been on enough film sets, I can AD. It's not.
You would be a good AD, actually, Richard. Your personality, your organizational skills, your ability to bring calm and sort of authority to the proceedings,
right, is
exactly the type of package you want. Someone who is not excitable, or that can take a lot, but also keep things moving.
It sounds like that. I mean, when you're talking about problem solving, that's basically what I do for a living. Is I
discovered that the reason I'm not a great AD, I'm a good AD. I'm not a great AD because I'm too emotional. I'm sensitive and emotional, and I get caught up on things, and so it's like I got to the point where it's like every film set I was working on, I reserved the right to quit at least once. So I'd always have one thing where I could yell at the director, I could walk off the set, and that was my quit moment. Okay, and then I'd take a breath and I'd come back on set and do it. And so, I mean, that's not good, because you end up getting this stress pent up, and and
that's still better than 90% of ADs I've seen.
Yeah, I enjoy ADing, but I just didn't like that. I'm a proper artist in the sense that I'm an egotist.
Okay.
that I like, I'm doing it for me,
You're emotionally involved.
I'm emotionally involved, and it was always hard as an AD. You're the last person to really get the credit for anything. If it was your idea to shoot something one way, it was if it this or that or this, you're the last person to get credit for. the sound guy gets more credit than
Right.
you on a lot
They're
of
starting to
shoots.
Because the Japanese used to use it. I mean, maybe even till this day, in the Japanese film system, the assistant director was the apprentice. It literally was. You had to eat crow for a certain amount of time, and then if that didn't break you, then they let you take over.
Then you let you direct. Well, and
you're making your bones.
That's how it started. I mean, Hitchcock started assistant directing, and eventually he moved into full directing. But I found that was always hard because I'd be working with so many, what I considered maybe inferior directors, and I was like, I'm a better director. I shouldn't be their kind of wingman. I shouldn't be fixing problems that
why am I telling this actor how to reach?
Why am I making this film better? That's not my job to make this film better. I just have to keep
the ship running.
Right. And so you take on this level of stress that you didn't need, and that's what I didn't like about the job. And so it's if it's something that people actually want to do, there are people who want to AD, and there are people who are really good at it, and then that's, I think, the perfect AD. My last film was a short film that I co-directed and I produced it, and that was a definitive moment for me because it was the first moment that I actually realized that I found the secret to making films, and I'm gonna patent, I'm gonna trademark this, and it's a negotiated delegation of stress.
Okay.
And that's how you make a movie, and
I like it.
Because what it is it's you find 6 people, you find a bunch of people that you want to make a film, and you go, this is the level of stress you're going to handle. This is the level of stress you're going to handle. This is the level of stress you're going to handle, and you give it to them, and you trust these people that they're going to take on this stress. They're going to take on these desired tasks that you need them to handle, and then you meet up and you make your film, and you hope that they still want to work with you at the end of the day. And I've been on too many sets where you don't get this negotiated delegation of stress, and you are taking way too much stress on, and then at the end of it you want to quit. You're like, I know I could work at a greenhouse for the rest of my life, I mean, I always have this moment where after all of the films I've ever shot where I just want to quit. And I think I read that wrong. I think it wasn't that I wanted to quit. I just needed a break because it was too much stress. And
it's a very weird environment.
It's a weird environment.
It's this concentrated environment.
You're
stress.
Stressed out.
Yeah.
You're yelling.
Everybody is.
You're upset. You're behind schedule. And at the end of the day, you're like, holy shit! I'm just making a movie. I'm not. People aren't going to die if this movie isn't made. But yet somehow you take this on as being like, no, this is important. People have to see this.
But that's something that you see in a lot of other pursuits as well. You know, like anybody who's leading any kind of project.
Maybe I never worked the office crowd, but maybe it's like that. Maybe
there's a lot of that. Yeah.
If this fax doesn't get in, it's going to be.
For sure.
Heads are going to roll.
And there's some people who are really poor leaders.
Yeah.
Because they try to take on too much with themselves.
Yeah.
And then they end up on the fast track to burnout. And there's other people who are able to develop that skill after a period of time of delegating away a lot of the tasks to people who are experts in what they do. And that way you don't have to take everything on your own shoulders.
Yeah.
And the product, and I'm sure it's the same thing in film, the product ends up being superior because even though you have the vision, you can't do the vision and also take care of all of the specialization, all of the special things, right? You need to give those tasks away to people who are really good at those things.
It's a team art.
This is how I got the directing job on Punisher, by the way. Is when I sat
being
down.
able to deal with people.
Well, specifically, I almost told what you just said word for word when I sat down with Sean Beichu, who was spearheading the project and starting it. Is I listened to everything that he had to say, and I said, "Listen, you're planning on directing this, but you're also planning on doing the choreography and starring in it. And I understand that you probably have a good handle on this, and you know the material. But I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the foot." And to his credit, he didn't go like, "Oh, this guy doesn't believe in me," and like retreat into that whole thing. he had the presence of mind to go, okay,
You're right.
what do you mean? And I said that exact thing to him. Like, every role that you have is another thing that you're going to sort of half-ass. Because clearly you want to do the choreography. Clearly you want to act the shit out of this movie. You want to get it right. And I think in order to do that, you need to delegate this direction thing to someone else. And I think I'm that guy. And he just sort of looked at me and said, yeah, okay. All right. That sounds good. If more people had that presence of mind to do that, there would be a lot less stressful film sets.
It's
Believe
true.
me.
You can be an egotist, but you can still give away responsibilities.
Yeah.
You know, like
if being an effective manipulative opportunist.
Yeah.
Like if you're an evil, where we take the assumption that you're an evil opportunist person, not delegating makes you a shitty manipulative guy. You're not even a good bad guy. You're not even a good manipulator.
A lot of the people who fail at leadership of whatever you're trying to do are the people who can't let go of the doing. And you tend to make your bones like actually being hands-on on stuff and becoming like an expert on something. And then afterwards, when it's no longer your job to do the doing, it's your job to convey the vision to other people to do. Some people just cannot let go.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You've seen a whole bunch of that.
Yeah, well, okay. Because I write a lot of my own stuff and I direct it, I don't write everything. I don't direct everything I write, but I usually direct everything I write. I have this auteur kind of sensibility where everything is planned. I'm writing it, and so everything's kind of pre-planned. But I think directing is all about compromise, and I think that's kind of what it is. It's you can plan everything. You can go, okay, I want this person to wear this costume. I want this line delivered this way, and you can plan everything in pre-production. But the minute you get on set, it is all about compromise. It's about finding common ground with people that you brought on board. I mean, you hired this actor not because you wanted them to do exactly what you wanted to do. No, you hired them to do what they are doing.
Yeah. To bring their kind of
to bring
flavor
their
to it.
yeah. I mean, everybody on a film set is an artist, and you kind of let them create art. And I think that's why I'm not a great AD, is because I'm an artist. And
I would disagree. I mean, I've only had one experience with you as an AD.
And that was like my second time AD.
Yeah?
It was my second time AD.
Then you definitely took your dad's advice and you acted the part and you faked it.
Many late
really
nights
well.
watching YouTube videos for preparing for the
But
Punisher.
you did it better than many people I went to school with.
Well, thank you. That was years ago.
It's very interesting to hear you talk about your process because it's very different from mine.
Yeah,
because I'm an excitable, emotional person, as Richard knows all too well. I live in a soup of anger and passion and love and emotion all the time, and I have to act everything out. There's some weird thing that happens to me when I direct. I go into this like Zen mode. I become extremely calm, and I don't think you've ever seen me lose it.
No. I mean, we worked together once.
Yeah.
We worked together once for 4 days. Really, when you break it down,
4 days.
An intense 4 days. Yeah. It was a stressful 4 days.
Impossible.
I never saw you lose it. I saw you kind of close up, but I think that was your process. Yeah. I mean, we were working. The one day we ended up working a 22-hour day. you know, like it was.
It was exhaustion.
It was
more
an
than anything else.
exhausting.
But at the
4
same
days.
time, I don't because I live in such an emotional way out in my real life. I feel like when I get to the set, if I can, I try to establish an environment of let's all get on board with this. I always say on set,
yeah.
Please remember, every single person in this room has the power to fuck this up, right? And then it gets a laugh. It gets a laugh, but like a second later, everyone, all the way back to the guy who's just running, holding traffic or whatever. I get this. I see it on their face. They're like, "Oh shit, yeah, it's true. Anybody could mess this up." So then immediately it sends everybody a message that like I care about everybody on the set, but also you all have this responsibility now to this project. But yes, we are all making a movie, so I just don't believe there's any excuse for outlandish, dramatic outbursts, or talking to other people in a disrespectful way, or getting all, especially in indie film, like, yes, you're a director, but in name only. Like, you're not getting paid more. There's no trailer. Like, everybody's just like, this is a grassroots DIY, little bit of money going on. Like,
and usually on independent films, the director's the last person to get paid.
If they get paid, most of the time they're doing it for free because they want
90% of the rest of the crew that are probably getting paid over the director, which is the way it should be.
Maybe.
I think it should be that way.
But I remember having a very positive experience with you, Michael, and I remember you doing exactly what you were supposed to do.
I had fun. It was fun, and you're like me in the sense that you were definitely in your element on the film set directing.
I was high off of that film, literally, like a natural high off of it for several months.
Yeah.
I've never felt ever close to being where I belong anywhere in my life, but something about that environment felt right. I was helping people, I was leading people to a certain degree, but it was all towards something, right? And it's very, very, it's a pressure cooker.
It is. It's a bizarre. Film sets are, anyone who's ever had the luxury of working on a film set is just, it's a bizarre concoction of people that don't know each other well, and at the end of it you feel like you've just gone through this big battle and you're like emotional, and at the end you're just
everyone's hugging,
or
right,
you hate each other at the end of it.
you never
want to see each other
that son of a bitch again,
and that is fine.
Well, I guess you learn a lot about people going through that kind of thing, right? Like you know what they're made of.
That's another thing you would love, Richard. You're a people watcher side.
Yeah.
You would get a kick out of
I can relate to a degree. I've been on a couple of your things, but like working in restaurants, like another like high stress, like
very similar
pressure cooker sort of thing.
Very
and
similar.
We'd bring new people in and they'd have their like nervous breakdown, and we knew that they just couldn't hack it.
Yeah.
Like you find out very quickly who's just talking the talk and who can actually walk the walk,
I worked at a restaurant years ago, and I think I've never actually saw the comparison between the two, but it's very huge parallel in that you have moments of complete calm where you're not doing anything, and all of a sudden you get a table of 50 people coming in and everybody's running around, and that's like a film set.
It's exactly
you're waiting around half the day, and then all of a sudden the AD goes, "Okay guys, we're shooting scene A6," and it's like
and we don't get to do it over.
Nothing's ready. Right. And then you get 40 people running around like ants.
You got 10 minutes to do this. You got 5. I need 10.
It's like you got 5.
It's the Scotty. Guy. Yeah. Damn it, Captain! I can't. I
can't do this. Like I need 10 minutes. And you got 5 minutes.
You're on. Yeah. And you gotta go into like you're in go mode. Yeah. And some people will just turn into a puddle.
Yeah.
They can't take it.
Fetal position.
They always say it's
that happens. The parallels are astonishing, and right down to the combination of ingredients, right? I think one of the most interesting comparisons I've heard, not that somebody compared this, but I heard Gordon Ramsay talking about the souffle, how like pastry makers are considered to be like the madmen in cooking, because becoming a pastry chef is
terrible.
Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit crazy. Like being a goaltender or a goalkeeper in soccer, you better not have a thin skin.
Yeah, because you're waiting around, an hour without doing anything, and then all of a sudden it's like
it's on, and then all the odds are against you. And a expert pastry chef of 25 years with stars across and accolades can still fuck up a souffle because it's such a sensitive process. Timing is everything. Oh, how much eggs did you add? All this other stuff, right? And this is I think this is almost a direct description of a film. And we see it. We see the Ridley Scotts, right? Yeah. Who, by logical assumptions and calculations, should be just getting better and better because of his experience and knowledge. But he turns out these turkeys in the last phase of his career, with all the money, all the resources.
The Martian's getting good reviews. I haven't seen it.
I heard the Martian is doing all right, but like people are conveniently forgetting Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Yeah.
The what is
Ridley
it?
Scott's
Counselor.
I could go on for Ridley Scott for like.
But you know what I'm
hours.
saying.
Yeah.
The fact is that no matter how long you've been doing it, and the Star Wars analogy again really fits.
Yeah.
Getting everything that you want and having all the resources is not necessarily a good thing.
It's really difficult to make a good film, and it's so
much
easy,
can go wrong. Yeah.
easy to make a bad film, and it's no one person is to blame.
Yeah.
Usually, you
Frankenstein.
can usually blame one person. You can find somebody to blame.
Yeah.
Isn't it the director goes down with a ship sort of thing?
It should be. It
Usually
should
it's the
be.
producer.
Is it really?
That's another job that is wholly misunderstood. And
yeah, you were telling me about that.
It's completely misunderstood. The producer is like, the average description of it or understanding of it is the money guy.
Right.
The guy that's got to rustle up the cash and the financing for the movies.
Or the guy who rustles up like the all green M&M's bowl for the actor.
That's more of the production manager.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, or the line producer. Right. Yeah, but
That just underlines my misunderstanding.
no, but these
of
terms
what
are
people
so
do.
interchangeable, right?
And they mean different things to different people. I like to know the terms before I go onto a film set because I
What are
believe,
the operational
yeah,
definitions?
because I
Let's
like
define our terms.
it's true because that helps to. There's this whole going back to the negotiated delegation of stress. Once you know somebody's job title, that's the stress you put on them, whether they want it or not. If that's their job title,
Here's your badge.
this is what you get because there are jobs that this is what your job always entails.
Right.
You want this title, you get this stress. You don't want the title, you don't get the stress, but then you don't take the title.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, good. That's
right?
Well put. Well put.
Producers is a big thing because you fall into these different things about you get executive producers, you get associate producers, you get co-producers, you get co-executive producers, you get all these different things. And to a lot of people, it's like, oh, I'm going to give my girlfriend the associate producer credit.
Is it like an honorary thing? It's like you
So
get an honorary
associate
diploma?
producer,
Like,
associate producer is like an insult title. It's not an insult title. I've worked on sets where I've negotiated associate producer credits.
Wow.
I have actually. If I'm not getting paid, if I
sure.
AD and I'm not getting paid, I usually negotiate an associate producer credit. Because what that means is that I then feel like I can contribute creatively to the film. That means
You're not
that
insulting
I'm
yourself.
I'm not insulting myself by coming on set and working for free and doing this.
It's usually the credit you give to the nephew of the guy that's paying for the movie.
Okay.
So he can say,
Yeah.
I'm in movies, I'm in pictures.
Yeah, like it's a weird title. Actors get that credit a lot. And what it is it's the credit you give people that is like, this is
You get to come to.
you get to come to and you get to have a say and you get to maybe sit on a couple meetings.
Okay, so you're
Right.
not just acting.
Right.
You get a say in the creative
Yeah,
process.
yeah,
Well, you get to speak your mind or your opinion, but it doesn't necessarily like...
yeah. No one actually has to listen, but
Okay.
you are within your right to express concerns.
But the producer, like I was saying, is the most misunderstood one because I myself misunderstood it until I talked to people in the business and they told me, and they said that the irony is, of course, that they're thought of as the money guys and the finance dudes and the guys negotiating for financing, but actually they have to be possibly the most creative of all the roles. The producer in a traditional setup is the guy or the girl that has the idea of like, man, I just read this novel on the plane. Holy shit, this would be a great movie. Like if we could get Terrence Howard and we could get this other actress and if we could get Jack Nicholson on it, I think we got something. Like it's hot. And then that guy's got to take that passion and sometimes for a decade keep pitching it to people who have the money to back it or to like hustle it together. And now maybe 2-3 years later, maybe 10 years later, finally he gets the money for it. Now he's going to bring that same initial excitement to the project as he brings on a director who he thinks will, or she thinks
You're
will.
building a film.
You're the filmmaker, the producer.
You're the ultimate filmmaker.
You're the ultimate filmmaker.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And and in many cases, you are the last to get paid or the one to never see a dime, even off of a successful movie.
It's really easy to say, oh, the director, it's like, it's a Ridley Scott film. Yeah, you can say that.
But they're hired guns.
But a lot of times they're hired guns. I mean, Ridley Scott usually produces his own work, so that's a little different. Yeah. But for the most part, the producer is the one that is the real filmmaker, and I like producing. I'm not a great producer, but I really like it because I like being able to build a film.
All right, man. Maybe. Well, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please come back.
And thank you to all the listeners.
Yes. Check us out. As we've mentioned before, we're on iTunes, Under the Fire and Hole podcast. We're on Stitcher. Mm-hmm. We're on SoundCloud, of course, which is our home base. Love you, SoundCloud. We're on Twitter, which we really don't care if you interact with us or not. Like, we have it because we have to have it, but it's really not such one of those, like, Dylan, comment on Twitter or whatever. But please, if you guys have stuff to tell us or you want us to talk about anything on future shows, like, don't be shy. Reach out, tell us. We're interested in what you're interested in.
We're all ears. Please rate, subscribe, review, do all that stuff if you like the podcast.